The Price of Greed, A Tale of Karma. Michael's insatiable greed and cruelty towards his brother's family ultimately led to his downfall. The sun was setting over the small town of Willow Creek, casting a golden glow over the quaint streets and homes. But in one of those homes, a sense of darkness and despair hung in the air. The Smith family had gathered at their ancestral home, not to celebrate a joyous occasion, but to mourn the passing of John, the patriarch. His untimely death had left his wife, Sarah, and their two children, Emily and James, reeling in shock. As the family members filed in to pay their respects, one person stood out for all the wrong reasons: John's brother, Michael. His cold demeanor and calculating gaze made everyone uncomfortable. While Sarah was consumed by grief, Michael saw an opportunity to take control of the family's assets. He had always been jealous of John's share of the family inheritance, and now saw a chance to claim it for himself. As the night wore on, Michael's true nature began to reveal itself. He started making demands, insisting that Sarah and the children would have to vacate the house immediately. The family was shocked by his audacity, but Michael was resolute. He claimed that the house belonged to him now, and that they were just squatters. With a heavy heart, Sarah tried to reason with Michael, but he was unmoved. In a fit of rage, he ordered them out of the house, refusing to provide any support or shelter. The children, Emily and James, were devastated, watching as their uncle threw their mother's belongings out onto the street. The once warm home was now nothing more than a distant memory. As the night drew to a close, Sarah and her children found themselves homeless, forced to seek refuge with distant relatives. The trauma of losing their father was compounded by the cruelty of their uncle. The question on everyone's mind was, how could someone be so heartless? Years went by, and the family struggled to rebuild their lives. But the pain of that fateful day would never be forgotten. The memory of Michael's cruelty would haunt them forever. Years had passed since that dark day when Michael threw Sarah and her children out of the house. The family had struggled to make ends meet, but they had managed to rebuild their lives. Emily and James had grown into fine young adults, determined to make a better life for themselves. Sarah, though worn down by the struggles, had found a sense of purpose in her children. But despite their progress, the pain of the past still lingered. The memory of Michael's cruelty had become a defining moment in their lives. They had often wondered what had driven him to be so heartless, but the answer remained elusive. As the years went by, Emily and James began to make a name for themselves in their respective fields. Emily became a successful businesswoman, while James pursued a career in law. They had never forgotten their humble beginnings and were determined to make a difference in their community. But Michael, on the other hand, had continued to prosper. He had taken control of the family inheritance and had built a business empire. He was feared and respected in equal measure, but deep down he knew that his success was built on the suffering of others. One day Emily received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end claimed to have information about her family's past. Emily's curiosity was piqued, and she agreed to meet the mysterious caller. As she arrived at the designated location, she couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. What secrets would be revealed, and how would they change their lives forever? Emily's heart was racing as she walked into the coffee shop. She had no idea what to expect, but her curiosity was killing her. The mysterious stranger was already seated, sipping on a cup of coffee. He was dressed in a long coat, and his face was partially obscured by a hat. "Who are you?" Emily asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The stranger slowly looked up, revealing a pair of piercing eyes. "My name is not important," he said in a low tone. "What's important is what I have to tell you." He paused, taking a sip of his coffee. "You see, Emily, your Uncle Michael isn't what he seems. There's more to his story than meets the eye." Emily's ears perked up, intrigued. "What do you mean?" she asked, leaning forward. The stranger smiled, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Let's just say that Michael's success isn't entirely due to his own merit. There are secrets hidden in the past, secrets that could change everything." As Emily listened intently, the stranger began to reveal shocking information about Michael's rise to power. It seemed that he had made some shady deals, using underhanded tactics to eliminate his competition. But that wasn't all. The stranger claimed that Michael had also been involved in some illicit activities, using his wealth and influence to cover up his tracks. Emily's eyes widened in shock as she listened to the allegations. She had always suspected that her uncle was ruthless, but she had no idea he was capable of such things. The stranger handed her a folder filled with documents and recordings. "This is evidence of what I'm telling you," he said. "Your uncle's empire is built on lies and deceit. It's time someone brought him down." Emily took the folder, her mind racing with questions. Who was this stranger, and why was he revealing these secrets to her? She looked up to ask him, but he was already standing up to leave. "Use the evidence wisely," he said, before disappearing into the crowd. Emily was left sitting alone wondering what to do next. She knew she had to confront her uncle, but she was scared. What if he retaliated? What if he tried to silence her? Emily decided to confront her uncle, armed with the evidence the stranger had given her. She arrived at his office, her heart pounding in her chest. Michael looked up from his desk, a mixture of surprise and annoyance on his face. "What do you want, Emily?" he asked, his voice cold. "I know what you did," Emily said, her voice shaking. "I know about the shady deals and the illicit activities. It's time you face the consequences." Michael laughed, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "You think you can take me down, Emily? I've built an empire. I have connections. You're just a naive little girl." Emily pulled out the folder and began to present the evidence. Michael's smile faltered, and for a moment, Emily saw a glimmer of fear in his eyes. But he quickly regained his composure. "This is just circumstantial evidence," he sneered. "It won't hold up in court." Emily smiled, a sense of determination rising within her. "We'll see about that," she said before turning and walking out of the office. The authorities launched an investigation into Michael's business dealings, using the evidence Emily had provided as a starting point. Emily and her brother James worked closely with the investigators, providing them with any information they needed. As the investigation progressed, more and more evidence came to light. It seemed that Michael's empire was built on a foundation of lies and deceit. The authorities froze his assets and began to dismantle his business empire. Michael, realizing his world was crumbling around him, became increasingly desperate. He tried to use his connections to silence the investigators, but it was too late. The evidence was too strong, and the public was outraged. The day of the trial arrived, and the courtroom was packed. Emily and James sat in the front row, watching as Michael was led in, his lawyer by his side. The prosecutor presented the evidence, and Michael's lawyer tried to defend him. But the evidence was overwhelming. Witness after witness came forward, testifying against Michael. The jury deliberated for hours before returning a verdict: guilty on all counts. Michael's face turned white as he heard the verdict. He knew his life was about to change forever. The judge sentenced him to a lengthy prison term, and Michael was taken away in handcuffs. As the courtroom emptied, Emily and James hugged each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. Justice had been served, and their uncle was finally paying for his crimes. The family breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing that the nightmare was finally over. Emily and James had fought hard to bring Michael to justice, and it had paid off. As they walked out of the courtroom, Emily turned to James and smiled. "It's finally over," she said. "We can start rebuilding our lives now." James nodded, his eyes shining with tears. "We sure can, sis. We sure can." The family began to rebuild their lives, free from the shadow of Michael's cruelty. They knew that they would always carry the scars of the past, but they were determined to move forward, stronger and more united than ever. This story teaches us that we all have a responsibility to stand up for what is right, even if it's difficult or uncomfortable. These moral lessons can be applied to our everyday lives, reminding us of the importance of empathy, honesty, and integrity in building strong relationships and achieving a sense of justice and fairness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching.